What is going on, YouTube? I'm gonna do a little update on the car here because I done something pretty fun over the weekend, and right off the bat you guys can probably tell that I lost my support rods for my lip. I hit a pretty big pothole and they both said, "Aight, I'ma head out." So I have new ones on the way. That's an easy fix. That's no big deal. But I'm gonna go ahead and pop the hood and update you guys on what I done. And here it is. Yep, you guys probably can't tell what I done. So let me point it out because honestly, visually you can't tell. So last week I came across some really good deals that I couldn't pass up. One of them happened to be Dave Trojan's 1025cc fuel injectors with a, of course, the 93 and the E85 tunes. And back here is a Turbobay big wheel stalker. And I was going to take a video on installing this stuff. This right here, the fuel injectors, I have a video already on installing this Boomba fuel rail, which again, it's a super straightforward process, and just replacing fuel injectors on both this rail and the factory fuel rail, super easy. You can watch my Boomba video to kind of get an idea of how that process is. Again, it's very easy. But this right here was my very first turbo upgrade on any car, so I didn't really want to take a video of it because I wasn't too comfortable on exactly how to do it, because I was learning throughout the process myself. But now that it's finished and everything on the car is working, and I have no leaks, I'm pretty comfortable now. If I ever have to replace this again or help somebody replace it, I can take a video and guide you guys through the process, which I have a little slideshow I'm going to show at the end of this video of, I mean, it's not a tutorial or anything like that, but it's just some pictures that I took going through the swap. But it was fairly easy. Getting the turbo off, that's no problem. Getting the new one back in, that's where it gets kind of tricky. But you have that, if you can kind of see that line right there on the top of the turbo, that's your oil feed line right there with the banjo bolt, and then you have two coolant lines with the same setup, banjo bolts, and they're 16 millimeters. The wastegate, it's held on by two 12s. Right there, you guys can see that, and you can actually see the oil line a lot better. And there's a oil drain line on the bottom, and that right there is very tricky too. I think they're 8 millimeters. I'm not sure. It was a very small size. Anyway, and on the very top, beside the oil line right there, you can see that V bend. It's a 10 millimeter, and that just pops right off. Once you have all that stuff loosened up, you can actually take a mallet, rubber mallet, pop the turbo, and it will pop right out. But then getting everything back together, because you have to worry about these copper washers. You have two of them, one on the top and bottom of each line for coolant and oil lines. They're tricky to kind of keep in place while you're trying to start all those stupid banjo bolts back in. And I bought a new copper washer and gasket kit off Modern Performance for like $17. I actually didn't use the oil return gasket. It's like a little paper gasket. It was just a pain in the ass trying to get lined up, and it kept falling off. I tried to use an RTV to hold it on, and it kept sliding around. So I just cleaned both the turbo and the return line off as clean as I could, and I have no leaks. And I honestly recommend going that route if you guys are struggling with it. Just make sure everything's really clean, tighten it down pretty good, put a good torque on it. And like I said, I have no leaks. you guys would probably be able to see a leak if I had one. Which that old return line, it's way down there. Drain line, return line, whatever it is. It's the only oddball. Because everything else is banjo bolts. And that return line is kind of like a pickup tube is what it reminds me of. So, yeah, that was my little project I done over the weekend. And I need to replace this wastegate because that's a stage 1 4-pound spring wastegate. It can't handle the spikes that the big wheel stalker's making. The car pulls pretty hard, but I'm bleeding boost off pretty quickly. So I'm supposed to be picking up a stage 2 wastegate soon, and hopefully that will no longer be an issue. But it does spoil a lot louder. That was a lot different, it sounds pretty cool, and I can feel the difference with just 93 alone. You know, the car pulls a little bit harder compared to the stock turbo. But I'm really excited to try the E85 tune, which is the only downside to that is I only have one gas station local, and it's 20 minutes away. So I don't know when exactly I'm going to try the E85, but I have a stage 2 South Bend endurance clutch. I think it can handle the extra torque, but I know the torque spikes that you experience with E85 is pretty extreme. So if it decides to take a dump on me, then I'm going to have a ACT street disc on the way. That's going to be a very fun and expensive upgrade. But yeah, that's what I done. I don't know if you guys can tell. I painted the valve cover, and what I done with that, if you guys can tell, that's crinkle paint. And what I done is I sprayed a base layer of red on the valve cover, and I let it dry, and then I went back over top of the red with the wrinkle paint. And as it was still wet, I got a trash bag, wrinkled it up, and I laid it on top of the black all the way across the valve cover there. And you just kind of pat the bag down and then hurry and rip it off. And what it does is it pulls some of the paint off and exposes the base red paint underneath. And I just went over the top letters with some red paint. I think it turned out pretty cool. I done that on my last car, my old Miata, and I figured I'd do it with this car. But yeah, again, like I said, I want to show you guys that little slideshow of me putting the turbo on. Just kind of pictures of, and it's got a cool picture of a comparison between the big wheel stalker and the stock turbo. So I'll have that starting right now, actually.